The storm outside the glass tower roared like an untamed beast, throwing sheets of rain against the windows as if the night itself was trying to break in. Inside the dimly lit boardroom, the tension was thicker than the air before a battle. At the far end of the long mahogany table stood a man in his late 40s, broad-shouldered, silent, with eyes that had seen too much. His name was Daniel Cross, a retired Navy SEAL turned single father, who had traded his rifle for a briefcase, but the warrior inside him had never really left. He didn't belong in this world of tailored suits and calculated smiles, yet here he was, in a room full of predators wearing expensive ties, because somewhere between duty and fatherhood, he had promised himself one thing: he'd never let anyone be crushed by power again. Not while he was in the room. If you believe that kindness, courage, and second chances still matter in this world, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales, where stories like this remind us that real heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes, they just wear scars and keep standing. The meeting had been called under the pretense of an urgent company matter. But Daniel knew better. He could feel it, the kind of tension he'd once sensed before ambushes overseas. Every instinct, every muscle memory, told him this wasn't business. It was a setup. And the woman at the center of it, Emma Rowe, the company's head of community outreach, was about to be blindsided. Emma wasn't just another executive, she was the only reason Daniel had joined the corporation after retiring from the military. She believed in people, in giving chances, in building something that wasn't just about profit. She'd even helped him find work when no one else would look past his service injuries and, overqualified, resume. Emma was the kind of leader who saw the human before the title. But in this room, surrounded by men who valued money more than mercy, that kindness had made her a target. As the CFO began his presentation, Daniel stood by the window, quiet, unreadable. But his mind was alert. He noticed the glances, the silent exchanges between the board members, the subtle tightening of jaws, the tapping fingers, the faint smirk on the chairman's lips. It was all too familiar. It was how soldiers looked at a man before they tore him down. Then, with deliberate cruelty masked by politeness, the ambush began. They accused Emma of misallocating funds, twisting her charity work numbers, weaponizing paperwork she'd trusted them with. Their voices rose in rehearsed outrage, claiming she had cost the company millions. She tried to explain, her voice trembling but strong. The money wasn't lost, it was redirected to local veteran support programs, families of fallen soldiers, and education grants for underprivileged kids. She'd believed the board would understand. But they didn't want understanding. They wanted her gone. Her compassion had threatened their greed, and this was their strike. Daniel's fists clenched under the table. He'd seen enemies before, but never ones who smiled while they destroyed lives. For a moment, he fought the old reflex, the part of him that had been trained to neutralize threats with force. But violence wasn't his weapon anymore. Still, something deep in his chest burned when he saw Emma lower her eyes, holding back tears she refused to let fall. When the chairman smugly moved to vote on her removal, Daniel finally spoke. His voice was calm but edged like steel. The room fell silent. Every eye turned to him. "Before you make that vote," he said, "you might want to check the facts." He pulled out a folder, one he'd quietly prepared over the past week. He had suspected something like this might come. Inside were records, emails, and hidden transactions that didn't belong to Emma at all. They pointed straight to the CFO and two of his allies. They'd been funneling bonuses and personal expenses under the same charitable accounts they were blaming Emma for. The air shifted instantly. The predators had been caught in their own trap. The chairman's face went pale, the CFO stammered, trying to deflect, but Daniel's voice grew colder with each word. "You set her up," he said, his eyes locking onto the men across the table. "You built this ambush hoping she'd break down quietly while you stole what she built. But she's not alone. Not tonight." The tension broke like a dam. Security was called, the documents were verified, and within hours, the truth came crashing down. The conspirators were suspended pending investigation, and the company's future, once poisoned by greed, suddenly felt cleaner. But for Daniel, victory didn't feel like glory. It felt like relief. After the chaos, he found Emma alone in the parking lot, rain pouring hard against her coat. She looked at him, exhausted, shaken, but with gratitude shining through her tears. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. He only smiled faintly and replied, "You did it for people like me once. I was just returning the favor." That night, Daniel drove home through the storm, the city lights flickering in his rearview mirror. At home, his daughter Lily was asleep on the couch, holding one of his old medals in her small hands. She'd once asked him if heroes ever got tired of saving people. He hadn't known what to say back then. But tonight, he understood. Heroes don't stop because they never do it for recognition. They do it because someone has to stand up when others can't. Weeks later, the company restructured its leadership, naming Emma as acting CEO. Her first decision was to create a fund for veterans and single parents, a project she and Daniel would oversee together. Their story spread quietly, inspiring others who had been silent in the face of injustice to speak up. In a world that often rewards power and punishes empathy, Daniel's act reminded everyone watching that real strength isn't in dominance, it's in decency. That sometimes, the greatest victories happen not on battlefields, but in boardrooms where the truth finally finds its voice. As Daniel stood one evening on his porch, watching Lily play in the fading light, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. He'd left the Navy behind, but maybe his mission had just changed shape. Maybe the wars he was meant to fight now were the silent ones, the ones where courage meant protecting someone's dignity instead of taking someone's life. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that integrity, loyalty, and courage still matter, please like, share, and comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Tales. Every click helps stories like this reach hearts that need hope. Speech balloon special request: comment below what kindness means to you, because sometimes one comment can inspire 1,000 hearts.